Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to discuss a very, a very successful partnership between a brand and an event company, and it's kind of like the Korean scene, of course, has had a lot of developments over the past years, and it's good to see that finally there's an event, a style which seems to be suited for the Korean scene, and so it's good to really go into deep into what made that event successful, how this partnership came together. So I'm very happy to have both the brand and the event company together, because this truly is a cooperation between two parties and not just a traditional sponsorship. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Well, my name is Chadi, Abdo. I've, in my career, basically, 10 years of which I've been with Heineken as a marketing director, sales director, or country manager for different countries. So I've had the experience of working in 4 countries with Heineken. Started off in the Middle East to Morocco, all the way to Korea, and now recently, since just 1 month, based in Amsterdam. So that was my first story. Getting into Korea as head of marketing, we were responsible for developing brands, launching one brand after another, and strengthening Heineken brands. One of the main aspects for that is always music.
Hi, my name is Carrie, and then I work with BEPC, and then we are the brand agency and then also festival organizer. So that we've been working closely with the Heineken, and then we developed such a conceptual festival called the Heineken Presence Stadium as well.
What other events were you organizing before Stadium?
We are organizing World DJ Festival and Electric Sky Festival, and then the Platform Music Festival, and we are doing the mega events as well, but we are only also focusing on the sub-genres and festival as well.
How long has your company been organizing these events?
It's been about 20 years. It's because my CEO has been working as the concert director, and then he'll open the company, and then we start operating and organizing the festivals.
Could you tell a bit more about how the corporation started? Where did it start? Was there one party that approached another, or was it kind of like a development over time that eventually gave the idea to organize this event in this way?
That's a good question. So it would start with a typical brand request, sort of. So initially, in our approach is to constantly promote our brand using music. One of our typical approaches was always to go for the big name festivals, bring in an international festival to Korea, promote it, and try to build the association. The problem is we tried that in 2012, we tried it in 2013, even with Sensation, but there was no link. It didn't click in Korea. So we knew we had to go local, and that was the big need for the right partners starting. So the idea was literally started off with brainstorming sessions with getting the best minds in the industry to crack the idea of what would be the best festival that Heineken can create with a local partner to start off that base. I remember in that brainstorming meeting, the idea came up of something called what we refer to as Stadium. 5 stages, 1 night, 5 stages, 5 different experiences. Hence the connection with BPC started to be the right partner that can create every aspect of it, specifically with Mr. Gartmanplantsoen being the director of that festival. That was the first initial step point, big step actually.
And in what way was this event local compared to the events you did before?
So there were a lot of festivals, each would have different connections. This festival specifically that I can talk about, if I would resemble the Korean scene, Korean dance scene, or Korean music scene, culturally, having seen different music festivals in different countries in the world, I would say Korea is unique in so many different ways, but one part related to your question would be how Koreans tend to enjoy the festivals. I can elaborate on that later a lot. But what was unique for us is how we can really engage to give a truly immersive experience. With the level of hierarchies or social limitations or social concerns of what Koreans can do and cannot do, how do we give them an experience that they can know what to enjoy at every second of the festival? And that's where the stadium, for example, came in as a perfect point, in the sense that you have the audience in the middle, you have 5 stages surrounding them, and at any point in time there's something happening where everybody's fully mesmerized and focused on one area. At one stage, at one moment, you could be at the far end of the crowd. The stage is on the extreme end. 5 minutes later, the stage behind you is active, and you're in the front crowd. That experience was something that Korea never saw before, and was very engaging and inspiring as well. That was the first aspect on a festival music point of view.
Can you tell a bit about how the first edition was held? What were the reactions by the crowd? Which were the results from the first show?
For our company, we as Chadi just mentioned, that it was a big brainstorming from the scene, that who can do what and what. But for us as a BEPC, we only participate as a directing section for the first year, and then for the later on, then we started operate the company, and then. So it was new to the audience that it has a storyline, it has many different experience that they can do. So that for the second year and third year, everything was sold out like 2 weeks before the festival.
That's amazing. How many people eventually attended the third and fourth festival?
About it was just 1-day events. So they were about 25,000 per day.
Wow. What were eventually the KPIs which you recorded, like, okay, we want to meet this? Was that purely the number of tickets sold, or was there also the eventual results for the brand? And
Depends who you're asking.
Yeah, you're asking me.
well, both. I mean, probably you've written them down together, but yeah.
No, so that's the part for us, because it was literally Heineken presenting Stadium, so it was the title sponsorship, so we needed to align in the beginning. Of course, ticket sales and the speed of ticket sales was a critical must, knowing that we're always raising premiumness, to know what's the level of interest to the festival, but also the type of crowd walking in. How do we keep it a very sort of a bit more exclusive, a bit more premium in our business term? The right selection of crowd that you want to be there, not too young. That's on the audience side. For brand side as well, it's within the festival, what's the level of engagement and what's the reach? It's a country with 50 million people. We have 25,000 inside, which is great, but we still have 10 million beer drinkers. And the idea is, how do we get them to talk about it, to spread it, to really be engaged, to post online, to spread the message, to take a lot of content and make it massive on their own. Plus the headlines the next days. What else can we promote? What was the image out of it? What was the outtake? Total point of view.
Were people accommodated in sharing these things online? For example, did you offer a Wi-Fi connection, or was there?
For Korea, you don't have to
Yeah,
offer a
amazing,
Wi-Fi.
I
It's
know.
like
Yeah.
everybody carries their
Yeah.
cell phone, and then they like to show off what they are doing, and
Yeah.
then it's all about taking picture and then uploading on their social media.
Yeah.
So it was like massive social media posting after the events.
So just to add a point, and like we're saying, at an event of 25,000 people, having people on their own, without us giving them any carrots or any incentives, posting 60 to 80,000 posts with your brand name hashtags inside one festival, that was nice to have.
Yeah, that's an amazing result. For the future, is there going to be a second edition in Korea, for example, in Busan, or would you maybe perhaps look at the rest of Asia to organize the event as well?
I think it all can be depends. If we can get a right partnership, with what we had with Heineken, then yeah, why not? Why not expanding ourselves to the another cities or another countries, over not within only the Asia, but going abroad more than Asia.
Is it the event that local that you wouldn't be able to organize this as it is right now in other Asian countries?
On the contrary, actually, we've had a lot of interest from different Heineken opcos, seeing that literally we had so many people visiting from Amsterdam, from all over the world, from Germany, and from pretty much every country in Asia, moving into Korea, visiting during the event to check it out. And we've had multiple meetings with BEPC in Taiwan and other countries to see what else can they take on board. Whether it's the name, whether it's the organization, whether it's the partnerships, they can really be the right support to work with their local festival organizers to get the know-how, the brains, the expertise. So it depends on what they wanted. There was always different discussions that we had in those.
How do you see the festival itself grow in its current form? Or is that not possible? Would it, for example, be a true multi-day event, so going to 3 or 4 days? Or perhaps find a new location to organize it in a bigger way?
I would say the main aspect for us, going back to the main aspect, is we have a brand and we have an excellent partner, the people who would really understand what Korean music scene needs. And it's all about how do we take it up a notch every single year to really keep on surprising, to really keep on the exclusivity or the right audience. So yes, one aspect is increasing number of days, but a lot of times we need to consider when do we step out and rethink the whole strategy, rethink the whole experience that we're offering, how differentiating is it? Korean music festival scene now is extremely different than what it was in 2014 when we started Stadium. Now they're pretty much for 6 months, you have extreme music festivals in every single weekend. So 4 years ago we did not have that at all. So the idea, how do we really stand out with every weekend a new festival coming in? And that's where you need the right masterminds that can help us to crack the idea, take it up a notch every time.
Also to add on, as a festival organizer, that now the people are like going for different types of like music festivals. They listen to like sub-genre and then saying, oh, I like this music, and then there's nobody else is listening to this music. That's why I'm like I'm a hipster. I'm like hip in this country. So rather than going to the big mega events, because it's happening every month, at least once or twice every month. So they go for like smaller gatherings or smaller like private festivals.
Do you also look into partnerships with artists in order to involve them into to the brand itself as well?
Like they're like as I'm not a CEO, I cannot make such a decision. Yeah. Since my background is artist hospitality, and then I've been taking care of the artists, and then I see the power of having a like strong bond between the festival organizer and the artist. Yeah. I think that if that's possible, then yes.
Marketing-wise, what did you do differently compared to the previous events or other events?
For the Heineken, for the marketing-wise, I guess, yeah. I think
I'm happy to jump in as the marketeer. This is a very interesting point in the sense that for a music festival, for us as a brand, as a beer brand, as Heineken, people drink beer 365 days a year. The music festival is just
well,
one.
You hope.
Yeah, hopefully, at least in general. But for us, the music festival is just one day, and that's the key aspect. So what we're promoting is two things: the festival, because the bigger the festival, the more it grows, the more the reflection on us as well. But the second aspect is to keep it on top of mind, to get people engaged and inspired and thinking of Heineken and the festival for literally 6 months out of that one night's event. So it starts off everything from building communication, TV, and for us we're actually building our TV spots based on the commercial, based on the festival, I mean. And it's not the idea of just showing look what the festival will be, but it's bringing in the brand identity into the commercial. That's on the first stages. Moving on to whether it's the simple promotions in bars and different places, getting people to excited about it or looking forward to the experience. As a small point, taking advantage of Korean tech scene, getting people in the bars to have the full VR reality, getting feeling as if they are in the middle of Stadium, which is a 360 experience. Perfect association with the VR. All the way to, in the previous session, somebody was talking about Melon. Melon is the Korean Spotify, which has 30 million people, 30 million users, having the right association where people can get used to the full experience of the festival beforehand via Melon. So we're literally pretty much connecting people on all different sides, promoting the festival, promoting the brand through that, but helping people have more engaged experiences for a longer time.
What has been the reach outside of Korea for this event? Has for example, the after movie been streamed a lot in other countries, or is there content available to other countries?
It would be a little less relevant, so not necessarily as the movie experience in itself. That's much more relevant for Korea. The biggest challenge that we have is, from Western world, we tend to see Asia as Asia, but in every single country in Asia, it's not seen as one Asia. So having a certain content, for example, from one country to be broadcast in the other would be much less relevant. For us, it's the other way around, getting countries and getting users or consumers from different countries in the world to win chances to go to Korea. Korea being an extremely influential country in the music scene, in Korean wave, Korean drama, Korean pop. The idea of getting literally consumers from all over the world to win tickets to go to Korea, to go to Stadium, to go to different festivals, that was always big on Heineken's agenda.
Have other brands been involved in Stadium as well? And how do you cope with that as having such a big main sponsor or partnership?
Yes, there's other like a subtitle, sub sponsors as well. But like since whenever we go out and then tell them it's the title sponsor is already been fixed, and then we are gonna go having this relationship with them for like a long time, and then with the continuity of this festival, with how the color and then the look and then the concept of the festival, we wanna keep that as it is. And if you wanna come, if you wanna join in as a sponsor, then you should like keep this color as how we want it. Not you have to stick out with like your own color and then make it as it is.
And how has this process been? Did brands, were they open to work in this way, or did you get a lot of negative reactions on that as well?
At the first, they were not really getting it because they're like, oh, I'm the brand and I pay the money, and then why do I have to like follow the other rules other than my own rules? But we've been explaining about like this is the concept of this festival, and then we want to keep it as it is. And then because of it's not about like Heineken pay us to do this. It's about from the beginning that we started about brainstorming the concept and then how we are gonna like execute it together, so that they later on they understand what's the concept behind this festival, and then they followed it.
What's been the balance in the people drinking liquor instead of beer at the festival?
It's not really an issue. For us as a beer business, it's definitely not really an issue. Beer is extremely in right now, technically in Korea in the last few years, especially imported beers. There's more than 400 imported beer brands in the country. It's massive. And it's the main beverage other than local spirits, which is soju. So other spirits or cocktails would always be available in festivals. Some people tend to choose them because of higher alcohol effect, faster. But other than that, still the enjoyment, majority of the consumption would still be beer.
Yes, and then plus, as Chadi mentioned earlier, that like people who's coming to the Heineken Present Stadium, it's more like, it's not like a young like audience that wanna like get drunk and then dance. They like to enjoy the moment there, and then they like to enjoy from the beginning to the end. So that they tend to drink more beer than like a more like a high alcohol, like high liquor.
Can you tell a bit more about the show itself? You've explained that it's a submersive experience, that there's a lot happening around you, but could you visualize it for us?
Okay, sure. And when we were operating the Heineken Present Stadium, that we had 5 different stages, and then that's going around the audience. The audience are in the middle, so that there is 5 stages built around the audience. So that, like for example, like last year, the theme was the Grand Voyage. So that it was happening in the rainy season. So instead of the waiting for no rain, we were like ready for the rain. So that we had a like giant octopus in the middle. And then with that octopus, we had a fire effects, and then we have a water cannon on as well. And then for 5 different stage, there is artists from 5 different genres. And then we create the feeling of make the audience feel like they are the Grand Voyage, the crew, so that we build up the giant gate, so that they are entering the voyage. And then also, for intro, like a video for each artist, we made it as like, oh, in 1960 this happened, and in 1970 that happened. So we made an introduction as well to make the people to follow the story, and then this is what's been happening.
Wow. How do you choose the styles of music that will eventually appeal to such a big crowd?
Every year we make a big trash can, and then saying like which like a genre that are you voting for, and then because people are drinking the Heineken beer there, so that they have the bottle, so they do recycle on their favorite genre. So that we take that as notes, but like we do not like just solely go by that, but we also do getting the ideas from the others as well.
But that must be a massive operation. You literally change the way that people bring in their bottles for recycling.
Yes, it's a massive, but yet if people want to listen to, if there is sub-genre that people want to listen to, yet we didn't notice yet, then it can be a good, it can be a good notification for us as well.
And if, for example, the people that are now listening offer shows or different kinds of experiences at events, what should they offer you? What are you looking for future editions? Are you looking, for example, you have a circus act and you want to maybe have it at your event, or you have well, if you look at, for example, the popular the TV stations right now, they have these kind of different kind of talent games where people challenge themselves in various different ways. What kind of experiences are you looking for future editions? Is it, for example, a music act that can do different styles of music and bring in humor as well, or is it?
Like whenever we pick a topic, we pick the theme, that we choose all the like aerialists and all the dancers that relate to that theme. So that for example, for Grand Voyage, that our aerialist.
You write a team, and then you specifically look for
Yes.
companies that offer acts in that
Yes,
way.
yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a sense, yes, it's always theme first. Whatever the theme is, everything would flow behind that. And that could be in the scale of the theme, for example, whether it's the water theme or certain mood during the event, or all the way to the concept of the event, what it stands for. If the concept's all about music mixing, then everything else would have to integrate that aspect.
Yeah, because you indeed, made quite a surprising date by moving it into the summer part where there's a lot of rain.
Yes.
But was this? Did you find a solution for a date you have to pick, or did you boldly go on a date where you could expect rain?
There's many different other reasons that we picked the dates yet, but it has to be in summer because of the venue that we wanted to use. It's only available for those days.
To be honest, it always comes back to the venue. Exactly. Either comes back to the venue, and there's always a bit of forecasting, sorcery, black magic, anything we tend to do it, looking at the history of rain season to try to estimate which is the best weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of heated discussions get into that, always.
How did the campaign go before and after? Do you have pre and after parties?
Yes, we done like a pre and after parties, and then also because we are working with the Heineken and then their marketing team, so that they've been like promoting the events as well from the pre to the end.
And yes, after parties, of course, they always connect with a lot of our biggest customers in the country, the main DJ, the main clubs as well, all over. And the interesting point, actually, with the Korean festival scene is that timing. I don't know if you would know that within Seoul, which is already the biggest spot in the country, all festivals, all music needs to end before 11 p.m. So that's literally, the music festival starts at 3. By 11, it's already reached its peak at 9 o'clock. By 11, it's perfect. 11 minus 2 minutes, the lights are out. 11 and 3 minutes, everybody's out. And that's when the clubs really start.
Yeah. No, but I know that in Seoul there is indeed a shortage of the right venues. Why did you eventually pick this venue in order to host the event, especially with the concerns for the date?
Even though like that's the venue with a lot of like issues that we have to carry on, yet that's the best venue because it's in the middle of the Seoul where everybody can be easily accessed, and then it's an open venue and it's big and then it can contain like about like 25,000 people at once. So that's the only venue that can that we can operate with such a conditions.
And what has been the effect on the business-to-business market as well? Because we've been talking about consumers, or at least from my perspective, is there a lot of companies that come to visit the event as well?
Absolutely. So within the festival, in this specific festival, for example, there are 4 VIP zones. 2 aligned for consumers, 2 aligned for businesses, or, well, one is purely for influencers, celebrities, influencers, that's literally there to make the message spread. The second one is business partners. Of course, talking about consumers as well. So partnerships is very big, all the clubs owners, all the restaurant owners, all the business owners. We put them together because they're a bit more business oriented. We don't want, it's different objectives for each. We put them together, they're happy to network, they're happy to connect with others. That's always been an extreme important aspect of our business operations. Literally, with a company with quite a big sales team, they start asking about who's going to get tickets the day after the event, looking forward to the next day, the next year's. It's a key aspect that we always need to integrate in what we allocate for our business partners and how we excite them.
Well, sounds like a really successful event. And also, I think a promise for events that or partnerships that want to use an event for a brand partnership in this way by actually developing it from the start instead of just stepping in after a while as a sponsor. Is there anyone that has a question in regards to this?
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the talk and the presentation, very interesting. My question is that you guys mentioned, I'm talking to Heineken marketeer now.
Yes.
You guys mentioned that you can evaluate the success of an event with social media awareness. You just lately mentioned that you are treating your business partners. This is very, very interesting angle. But as a more generic question, when a brand decides to go offline and decides to sponsor an event, what's your methodology to measure the success? Because at the end of the day, I guess many brands want to increase revenue, but there are so many factors that affect increase and decrease in revenue. Is there any way that you guys at Heineken can decide that, okay, this offline sponsorship affected our revenue model in this and this matter?
Absolutely, very good question. That's pretty much the same challenge we have with our GMs, with our regional counterparts, and every time we're presenting a big sponsorship budget. So the first aspect is, as marketing, what we try to aim for is what's going to affect the final consumer, and that depends on a long list of factors. If I want to say the simple terms, the main aspect is reach and engagement. So in simple terms, from an ROI perspective, what's the cost of reaching a single person during that event compared to reaching them with any other platform? Could be media, could be TV, could be digital, could be something else. And that's where we're talking numbers-wise. Of course, music festival cannot have purely that aspect, that KPI. And that's where other factors come in. We measure festivals based on certain benchmarks. So in a typical year, we might sponsor 10 to 12 festivals. So what's the benchmark of each festival with the rest? And then what's the additional added factor of the experience of the festival? That's what we do usually, depending on the size of the festival, with post-event or during event research, tend to understand what did this festival add value to those people. Third is, so for example, for us, literally just with Stardom alone, combined with our full music platform, I assume, there was a time when there were so many beer brands coming into the country. And Heineken had been one of the oldest beer brands, imported beers in Seoul, in Korea. And it got to the risk of being associated as the safe brand, which is not the sexiest image to have for a beer, in the sense that you have a long list of brands in front of you. When you're not sure what to take, okay, I'll take a Heineken, I know what it is. It's not the most aspirational image. We're happy to say that literally just after 2 years of working with Stardom and promoting that image, it became there's an interesting term that came up so many times, the bubbly girl, the higher energy, exciting, fun brand that I enjoy having and showing off with. And the biggest change in our marketing strategy was literally music, referring to the festivals. Hope I answered your question.
Any other questions? I have one last one, and then referring to your last answer. How is Heineken seen by the audience now? What is it? What kind of change has it made? Do you also combine it with, for example, technology? Is it a brand around atmosphere? Is it the same as we see Heineken in the Netherlands?
A little different in the sense that it's still an imported premium brand, versus in the Netherlands it's everybody's beer, if I understand that correctly. So what I would say now, the image of Heineken is the lifestyle brand. It's not portrayed, so with the extreme beer brands in Korea, to give a little bit of background, a lot of brands tend to promote or associate themselves to a specific occasion. A Chinese beer brand with Chinese food, Japanese beer brand with Japanese food, or certain literally specific occasions. Heineken, what's the best part about it is that it's more of an experience and lifestyle brand. The main association we hear also from consumers is that it's the Nike of beers, which is the right association to have.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Hope you learned a lot about this partnership, and hope to see you at the other panels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.